this. All right, so that's our displacement map, and let's take a look at some of the settings for our displacement channel. That's actually pretty important to get the results that you want. So let's look at my material, and I'll look at our displacement channel. I've got the height set to 1, which is relatively low. I think 4 or 5 is the default value. Intensity centered should be the default value. And I want to make sure subpoly displacement is checked, or else you'll get sort of chunky results. Basically, what subpoly displacement means is it's doing a subdivision at the time of render, and it's as if you have like a hypernerbs with a subdivision of 4 in addition to your existing hypernerbs. So definitely want this. And I also suggest checking map rounded geometry. And the rest of it I'm leaving at its default values. Now, as it goes, this is going to take probably about 5 minutes per frame to render. Subpoly displacement is very render intensive. So what I'm going to be using this for is to create both an ambient occlusion map and a normals map, which is what I will actually be using for my actual renders. So I will not have really long render times. Subpoly displacement can be fine for still images, but I personally find it a little bit time-consuming for animation. So let me show you how we're going to go about rendering these out. So I'm going to go to Render, Bake Texture, and that gives me this tag right here. And I want to make sure that the size of the map that it's creating is the same as the size of my existing maps as everything else, which is 1012, I think. Let me go back and check that. Let's see, is it telling me? Well, let's see. Let's say we're creating an alpha 1024. Okay. So we want to try and keep all of our maps same size, make everything tidy. Then we go to Options, and we're going to be baking out 2 maps. We're going to be baking out an ambient occlusion map, and we're going to be baking out a normal map. And the normal map is basically going to be taking the place of our displacement during our render time. So let's take a look at what we need for this. And usually for normals, just the standard settings are just fine. Ambient occlusion, and I'm happy with this. And we want to make sure that we go into our render settings and make sure that we have ambient occlusion checked. And the way you bring that up, you go to Effects, and well, see, it's not giving me because it's already there. But that's how you bring it up. Go to Effects, and then it'll be there, and then make sure it's checked. I have global illumination here, but I don't have it checked because I'm not going to need it for either of these baking procedures. And then we want to make sure that these are having the right name. And they will come out as Photoshop files. And the default is fine. And if I were doing some multi-passes, you might have all your baked textures out to a single multi-layered Photoshop file. But in this case, I'd like separate maps, so I'm not checking single file. And I think I'm ready to bake.